But members of local law enforcement say they struggle with PTSD issues too, only to receive far less attention. ABC 15's Tim Vetcher introduces us to a former Mesa police officer who says PTSD and the lack of available help cost him his career.
On May 28, 2009, Detective Nathan Schlitz responded to a fight involving a known gang member. When that suspect tried to run over his partner, Nathan opened fire.
What no one knew at the time was his 15-year-old female cousin was in the car with him in the back seat, and one of my rounds hit her and killed her.
The realization he killed an innocent person, albeit unintentionally, sent Nathan into a tailspin. He had begun to experience the symptoms of PTSD.
I think immediately after the shooting, isolation was the biggest one. I stayed in my house, didn't want to leave, didn't want to talk to family or friends.
4 months later, Mesa paid for Nathan to attend a treatment program in California that specifically treats PTSD in first responders. He returned to work only to find himself on January 28, 2010 in a shootout with the suspects who murdered Gilbert Lieutenant Eric Schuhandler.
After that, and some specific things that happened on that incident, a lot of the symptoms just came flooding back.
Nathan tells me he sought help from the department's wellness office but was ignored. The PTSD symptoms, namely anger, became so bad he went on administrative leave in August of that year. He would never work as a police officer again.
They're quick to heal the broken bones, but I think they're just not trained or not capable of dealing with other injuries.
Experts estimate 15% of all police officers will experience PTSD symptoms. In Mesa alone, that equates to nearly 100 men and women. But Ryan Russell, president of the Mesa Police Association, claims cities like Mesa lack the wherewithal to help officers dealing with PTSD.
We train our new officers how to drive a car, how to shoot a gun, the laws of arrest, how our legal system works, but we don't always train them on how to deal with when they're not right.
I think it's an opinion.
Detective Steve Barry says all supervisors in the Mesa Police Department receive training so they can recognize the symptoms of PTSD.
I feel that we have a good program in place. I think we try and recognize it as early as possible, or certainly as early as it's brought to us. And again, we do everything that we can and make every resource that we can available to try and get that person help.
Oftentimes, Detective Barry tells me that help means sending officers to see a specialist. That's where social worker Joan Siegel comes in.
Over the last 18 years, Mesa has come a long way in instituting a lot of services that a lot of law enforcement agencies don't have.
Despite those services, Russell claims Mesa's losing officers far sooner than expected.
We were actually told by somebody in the city of Mesa that, aren't you hired to be shot at? And if that's really the approach that they have, then we're never going to get this better.
Because of PTSD, Nathan ended up retiring from the police force in February of this year at just 35 years of age.
I love that job. I didn't want to leave. If I had my choice, I'd be doing that today.
The union estimates Mesa spends $250,000 to recruit, hire, train, and retain officers like Nathan. That investment lasted only a little more than a decade in Nathan's case, when he says he likely had a good 20 years left.
I think that if I had gotten treatment earlier, I think I'd still be an officer to this day.
In Mesa, Tim Vetcher, ABC 15.